Okay. Hello. Good evening, everyone. I am Noufal. I'm doing my postdoc research in Barcelona Institute of Science and Technology, that is Catalan Institute of Chemical Research in Barcelona. And today, as the chairman introduced the first, our motive is to give two kinds of lectures that to draw your attention towards the research and innovation in and think about the higher education. And regarding to that, today my talk is to emphasize some of the importance, that is why the research and innovation matters in your life, and try to inspire, and let us see how you get the sort of inspiration from the talk. And as the chairman's notified, I mean, we may not be able to answer all your questions, but this is the starting point to make a kind of interaction each other. And since majority of since some of the guys are from outside Kerala, so we would like to speak in the session in English. But whoever feels that the language, if they want to speak in Malayalam also, they can speak. But or if you have some question, you can just type onto the session. We will type onto the chat box and we will answer accordingly. Okay, coming to the topic, that is why research and innovation inspire yourself. And I just try to, I mean, since majority of the people are from different background, I just to make it general and nothing too deep with the science or with the research discipline I'm doing. So I hope that this will be more generalized and everyone can follow accordingly. So the point here is that, as we all are aware, we are all following the common education ladder in India. This is the common educational system, as you see in the slide. We just follow different hierarchy of the education, that is school. We pass through school, higher secondary, graduation, post-graduation, and so on. And some people go for the PhD, and other people go for the medical and engineering kind of courses. But these are all the basic education. But you realize that after all this, I mean, you know that after all this education, you directly enter into the job market. But then you realize that once you enter into the job market, when you realize that all the education or all the marks, because during all this time you just mug up all your things and you study well, and you get the marks, and you pass the exam, and finally you get the degree, and after that you enter into the job arena. But once you enter into the job, you realize that all those marks, all the credential, all the credits you were achieving in your studies is not going to help you to improve your career graph. In order to improve your career graph in the job market or in the job environment, what matters, your rational thinking and the logical understanding. And this is what make you traverse your job market successfully. So all this rational thinking and logical understanding are collectively called scientific temper. So what is the scientific temper? In fact, our Jawaharlal Nehru coined this term scientific temper for the first time. And what he mentioned, that he was envisioned a country where, let me minimize the video. Okay, he envisioned a country where the people can understand and practice the scientific method in their daily lives, analyze and not take statements at their face value, and avoid simplistic reasoning. This is what the Jawaharlal Nehru mentioned in his book, that is The Discovery of India. On the page 512, you can read that the search for, I mean, the scientific approach means the search for the truth and new knowledge, the refusal to accept anything without testing and trial, the capacity to change the previous conclusion in the face of new evidence. And why this is important? Because if you think in a different way, I mean, if you think about the job environment, all this situation that you encounter after the education, and you can realize that the scientific temper has pivotal importance. And this is especially in our Indian system, in our Indian education system, because the problem is that in Indian education system, make the people to go through certain kind of studies in a certain way, with the hope that this certain kind of path will give certain kind of success. So at some point, at certain level is okay. But the problem is that this kind of particular direction will only create the people like the British people did in 1800s, because the British people were generating they're developing the education program just to make the clerical jobs. But now the current requirement is not that, because we have to be able to see if you are in the job market, or if you are in a challenging environment, we have to be able to see where no one else see in it. We have to perceive the things that is something more than the common man seeing in it. And this is the mantra for the success. But there come the research, so if you think the science in this direction, then you soon realize that science is a kind of tool that changed the landscape of the mankind. That changed the livelihood of the people, that touched the common man. So if you think like that, the scientific timber is one of the crucial thing that will really attach with your common life. And this is not a new thing, actually, because this has been done in the past. So all the nourishment and all the facility that we are enjoying today is just because the noble people in the past, in the history, were doing that. And what they were doing, they were letting their imagination go wild. And to prove you that, I will take some examples from the history. That is one of the famous person, you all know that, Galileo Galilei, and some other scientists that were popular in the history. And I will draw some examples, and I will just move on to the current scenario. Okay, and having said that about the Galileo Galilei, and you know that Galileo Galilei is very famous for his gravity experiments on the Pisa Leaning Tower, but I'm not going to talk that. But what I wanted to discuss here is a particular invention of Galileo Galilei, that is telescope. Sorry for interruption. Galileo Galilei was the first person who connected the mathematics and physics. But what I said you before, like, I wanted to say something about the telescope. Actually, we know that Galileo is the first person. Galileo is the person behind the invention of the telescope. But actually, if you trace the literature, you can see that Galileo Galilei is not the person who really invented the telescope for the first time. It was a Dutch guy. He just joined two lenses together, and he saw that the images are magnified. And this kind of information were already known. But Galileo Galilei, what he did, he just took this information and put it in a different way. What he did, he just made the cylinder and sealed this two places of the cylinder with the two lenses, and suddenly he started to see the images started to magnify. And he could achieve this magnification power even up to 100. And even the term telescope is not done by Galileo Galilei. This term was already known for some other unit. But Galileo Galilei was so clever in management, and with a very sharp thinking, and he could make all this concept together, and he achieved that was no one see it before. And this is the point. The point is that you will see many things around you. The point is how you assemble that in a clever way to make something better, that no one see it before. So Galileo Galilei did that, and the people were, now we know all the invention behind the telescope goes to Galileo Galilei. So this is the point. And other Indian example is the Mahendralal Sarkar. And Mahendralal Sarkar was like a medical practitioner during the British era. In fact, he was the second MD from the Kolkata University. But although he was doing very highly successful medical practicing career, he was rejected with the education system of India during that time, because the British people were just encouraging the education that goes only up to the clerical post, because there was nothing like higher education or research or things like that. And in fact, the Mahindra Lal Sarkar was the first person who said that we should have the independent thinking, and we should be able to do the things that no one else can simply come and do. And we should be able to understand or perceive the things that no one else see in it, as I said you before. And with this idea in mind, he was proposing all the time the independent education, starting up the new institutes and like that. Then this is the case happened in 1800, but now we are in 2018, and I would say we are still at the level of the same position, that the education is meant for just for clerical post, or just for some kind of job that is satisfy a certain kind of requirement. And because of this reason, if you remember the newspapers last time in 2017, our ex-president Pranab Mukherjee has to say in 2017 that our engineering college are training people to get the degree, get paid very high salary to sell soap and detergent. This is a very pathetic condition that we are enduring now. So, but believe me that this is the kind of job that Mahindra Lal Sarkar was totally against. This is the kind of job, this is the kind of the system that he was fighting against in 1800. But in 1800, then he started, because of this pathetic condition, he started his own shop. But that shop is not to sell the detergent soap, but to sell the science. This is what he did. And he got the many money from the philanthropist. And to make the story very short, because I don't have much time to explain. If you want to know more, we can discuss later. But but he started the institute, and he was really fostering the science education during that time. But the problem is that whatever idea you have, you need people to catch up. So at that time, C.V. Raman was a very well-known tax collector in Kolkata, and he was having a very high-paid job. But while the time he go and come back from his job place, he used to see this Cultivation Science Institute, and he was curious to know what is cultivation science and what kind of cultivation does work there. And he was offered a position just to visit, and he started to do some experiment before and after his job. Then soon he realized that he hurts belongs there, and he gave up the job. And so giving up this kind of job is not a simple thing, because he was having a very high paid job. Then he just left out just for, it's like thousands of rupees job, and that changed into like hundreds of rupees, but they had passion to chase their dream. That's the point. So these are all the incidents. We can draw our attention from the history, but what's going on now, I will tell you another story what's going on right now. This is one of the issue that shook up in Indian pharma industry from the Ranbaxy laboratory scandal. And now Ranbaxy is no more, because you know that it was bought by Sun Pharma and Daiichi company and so on. But believe me, this was like the biggest company India ever produced, multinational company. It was the 6th biggest in USA. And now they are facing many things like unscientific practice, like adulterated drug, falsified reports, and many things like that. But how they reached to this level? Because they were just following and copying the skewed patent laws that was developed only to protect, or that was developed in India. But all this story, making it short, what it tells us, the lack of innovation and precise scientific practice, if you don't have that, it will affect you adversely. This is what is happening to Ranbaxy.